Oh, man.
Wow.
I am so excited about this podcast because I think that it is really needed for us, especially as women, but as men too.
Oh, man. I never laughed so much, but also was like, yes, this is really good.
Now, this is a explicit, I guess you could say, podcast. So if you have kids around, we're going to talk about sex, baby.
Yeah.
So
good job.
let's make sure that you listen to this, with your headphones on or something like that, or your little AirPods in. But this is an incredible conversation, just us ladies talking about sex. And I think that it's an important topic. So
stay tuned if you want to learn more about sex.
Yeah, it's good.
You're listening to Fit and Hippie with Dori and Lori. The show is about the show that covers the show that gets into
Exactly.
Well, this is going to be a good one.
Can I sing my song? Can you sing my
a song, Dori. Sing
Let's
it.
talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be. Let's talk about sex. Wah.
She sings it every time, and we never talk about sex. So
because I've been putting it in the universe. I know somebody will come to us that will talk to us about sex. I'm so happy.
This is so funny.
And it's not Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Well, it's an interesting conversation that we were just talking with Casey, and this came up, and we thought, we got to talk about this on our podcast. This is a subject that all of us have a part in.
It's kind of
that
taboo.
All of us are interested in. It is a very taboo subject.
Yeah.
So if you have young children around or you don't want to hear about this, we're just giving you a little warning before we start. We're going to talk about some explicit stuff just because I think that we should.
Right.
And I think that it shouldn't be so taboo to talk about this
Shouldn't
kinds
be a
of thing.
secret.
Yeah. Because this is an important part of our life, of our relationships, of our marriages, of all of that. And so I think that it's important that we talk about it. So I'm excited about this conversation.
And so we have Casey Gardner in here in the studio today. And why is she an expert? Well, let me tell you. Does she have a book out?
Not yet.
Not yet. But what's super great about Casey is she seems to have a lot of women come to her on this issue of intimacy and desire dependency and different sexual topics. And so she's a sex magnet, believe it or not.
And I've only had it with one person. Did you imagine that?
And the thing is, she's a self-professed, she has a high libido. She's self-professing that.
High desire.
A high desire. And so...
we had that conversation with all of us are kind of in that category.
But I think, that kind of, you don't... I think her expertise is in the fact that she's got an innate ability to be able to explain things to women, make them feel better, and also just get a message out that is really important for women to be okay with our sexuality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I was saying, too, before we got started, is that when I was a younger mother, I wish that I'd had this kind of conversation for me, because there's a lot of misunderstanding that I didn't know, I had questions that weren't answered, and so it'd be nice to have some conversations around that and get some questions answered for other people, because I know that we all have them, huh?
Yeah, usually in relationships, it's generally the male is the experienced one, or it's
dominant.
Okay to be experienced.
Right.
With women, it's different. We're supposed to be pure. We're supposed to be, that's supposed to be like, oh, we're supposed to laugh and giggle and then, be acted upon or be objectified.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I met my husband, we were both virgins. And so we were on the kind of the same playing field. But I was raised in a very open, a sexually open environment. Not that we were, like, things were done in front of us or anything, but, it was okay. Like, sexuality was okay. And I was never really ashamed of my sexuality. In fact, I remember a time my dad pulling me aside around 14 years old, and he's like, and he tried to have this conversation. I was like, look, Dad, it's okay. He's like, I know, but I just want to tell you it's okay that you're a sexual person.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wow,
what a great thing. And he was a single dad at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I always carried that with me, where my husband, he grew up where, you don't talk about it.
Yeah,
he never
right.
had the talk.
Yeah.
He never had anybody pull him aside and tell him about his body. He learned it at school.
Yeah,
and
that's most people.
It's
or
not
magazines.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Which is even worse.
Which is
TV.
the problem, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Where the media taught him that when when a man touches a woman, she's supposed to love it. So we both knew that wasn't right. And even we were so like quote unquote pure before we we both decided that we would wait till we were married to have sex. And so, but we had lots of conversations about it. One, because I was extremely interested in him, he was as well.
Of course.
But so we went to the bookstore. We went and sat at Barnes and Noble, and like two giddy 21-year-olds, we picked out every book, but it wasn't salacious material. One book which I loved, and I'm so grateful we got our hands on it. It's called She Comes First, and that book was. And I've done some research on that individual that wrote that. I can't remember his name right now. I think his first name is Eric, but he, it was born out of his own struggle and strife with, premature ejaculation, which made him go down this path to figure out why is this happening. And it turned out that he was like, oh my gosh, like we're led astray, all of us, men and women in relationships. And so I was so grateful to have my eyes open before we ever even entered the bedroom together that way.
Right.
So
That's
cool.
Yeah.
That
And it's
doesn't
changed.
happen very often at all. A lot of times, relationships come in, and a lot of times I could see the girl being the virgin, and the guy's been out, he's been having sex since he was probably 16, with whatever, and he has an idea of what he thinks that she wants, or he wants for sure, and she has no clue.
No.
And all she wants to do is try to please him.
Right.
Which,
she objectifies herself.
Right, exactly.
Because that's what we're taught to do as women.
Yeah.
We
Right.
objectify ourselves. That's our role. And men don't know. I mean, I think that our media and pornography has taught them that women are there to be acted upon.
Right. Yeah.
And I think they're missing this great, amazing,
sure.
whole store of, intimacy and connection and desire that's unlocked. And it really does reside within the woman.
What I love about it is shared playfulness.
Absolutely. That's what it's at its best,
Yes.
It's playfulness and it's openness and it's connection and it's love. That's where love keeps being born.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and conversation too.
Oh, totally.
That we can talk about all that. Yeah.
If I'm ever feeling like I'm a high desire person, but there are times I go to bed and I'm like, oh, he's probably going to want to have sex. I'm so tired. And if we just like pull away from all the other stuff, shut and lock the door, because I need that. I need to have that door locked. I got little kids at home. And if we could just start with a conversation, my walls come down. And I feel like a lot of women don't let that happen. And in my conversations with some of my best girlfriends, and who are all these women, I have had one of my best friends said to me, and it broke my heart, and this is what made me go, this is what I want to do. I want to help women. She said, I could probably go the rest of my life and not have sex. And I said, girlfriend, stop. I don't think you mean that. What I think you mean is you could go your whole life and not have bad sex. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting there and my friends' jaws dropped, like all of them kind of tuned in like, wait, what does she mean? Am I having bad sex? And they're like, wait, what do you mean?
She's got 20 women around.
Totally. Go ahead and talk.
But it was
so
to
what?
him.
And they said, well, what is bad sex? And I said, not necessarily bad sex, but vanilla. And they're like, oh, I'm not having vanilla. I was like, okay. They're like, well, what's vanilla to you? And I said, well, he wants it, you're indifferent or don't want it, you give in. Finally, at some point in the middle, you're finally okay with it. Then it's over. And then he either, you think it's great sex because your husband thought to give you an orgasm at the end. That's not great sex. That's vanilla.
Yeah.
That's like, but he doesn't know any better because you haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
There are so many good resources.
Yeah.
One, listening to a podcast like this.
Yeah.
Get the conversation going and say, hey, babe, I listened to this podcast and maybe there's nothing wrong with either of us.
Yeah.
Maybe there's wisdom in my lack of desire. What if that is, there's nothing wrong with me? What my body and what my spirit is telling me is we need more connection.
Right.
We need to have
Yes.
conversation about
Women
this.
especially. We especially really, really need that. I mean, men can operate like you can drop your top and they're like, yep, okay,
Hello.
ready to go. and we just need to be like you said, the conversation, and maybe if you just start talking and you get a little bit more intimate, and now you're just like, I just love you. Yes.
Yeah. I told my husband, too, one of the best things he can do for foreplay is the dishes.
Yes. And that was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
True.
My husband learned
That's
that
a good start.
early on. And I think he read that foreplay starts when you wake up in the morning. And he took that to heart. And he really does make it so easy for me to lay down at night and be like, I am so grateful to be married to you.
You are so lucky, because I got to tell you, in my marriage, I remember my husband one time, and this was before I was divorced, going, how come you never just come to bed when I do? And I'm like, and he's like, and I get what he's saying, but by the time I get to bed, my kids have been on my body all day long. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing all these things. He's gone to work, thank God, and come home. I make dinner. And then he goes and sits on the couch and watches TV while the kids are doing, and I'm cleaning up dinner, and then I'm helping with homework, and sometimes I'll help with homework, and then I'm putting kids in bed, and he wants to, and then it takes me, 20 minutes to wash my face and do my teeth, and then he wants to know why I'm not in bed with him when all he does is shut off the damn TV and go and lay down in bed.
Yeah.
And he's horny.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, that doesn't make, that's odd. That doesn't make you horny for me, right? And so it's like, and not that the men have to go about life trying to, go throughout their day making sure that his wife can get laid at the end of the day. That's not the point. The point is that you can both take your roles, shed them, and then be together as one. I mean, that's like the only difference between a marriage relationship and other relationships is sex.
Yeah.
So if you're not having sex, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a rare couple out there that neither of them have desire, and that works for them.
And
that's
they still
great.
love each
Turn
other
off this
dearly.
podcast. Go to a different one. You guys can have an intellectual conversation and feel fulfilled. That's not me, and that's not most people.
That's not most people.
Most women, they might identify as a low desire person, but the truth is what they really are craving is connection, and they want their husband, and truthfully, men too. I mean, I think if you were to pull back the curtain of most marriages, men want this too. They want their wife to be intimate with them.
And they find deep pleasure in giving you pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're made that way too.
I think they really, really do.
Now, you said something about the unlocking of the woman that kind of...
Yes.
So, kind of describe that a little bit, would you, Casey?
Yeah, with the hours of podcasts and other books that I've read and listened to, the woman really is the key to true intimacy. And I don't want that to, men are there too. I mean, obviously this is a two-person job, and when you're in a monogamous, heterosexual relationship anyway. But the woman holds the key to slowing things down and asking for intimacy, and asking, because a man is usually the accelerator. He's always
he's ready. He's ready right away, and it takes us time.
Yeah, and generally speaking, the whole experience, if the man is in charge and doesn't worry about the female pleasure portion of it or foreplay, it could be done in less than 60 seconds, or if they're lucky, 3 minutes. So that's true. I mean, I think the average sexual encounter in a married couple is 5 minutes. That's not me making this up. This is a real statistic.
That's sad.
It is so sad.
That would only be fun if it was an adventure sex.
Right, like if you're...
Okay, baby, we're in the plane.
Hurry,
we're in the plane. Okay, let's go.
The roller coaster's going to go.
Right. Or if you're having a quickie, let's just have a quickie. That's okay, but that shouldn't
different.
be the norm.
That's not the norm.
Right.
Every day coming
the
together.
norm is, one of my girlfriends asked, what's a typical encounter between you and her husband? I would say, if it's less than 20 minutes, I'm not interested. I'd rather wait another day and then do it tomorrow. Because I'm not interested in the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I want that connection.
Yeah,
and that is something that fulfills me. That is something that I love doing with my husband, and he loves doing with me. And so if we don't take the time to really tease apart what it is that's coming between us, then, I think, with a woman that does have high desire, I think those marriages are typically a little bit better, because it's not because I just want to have sex all the time. That's not it. It's that my love language is probably touch and talking and intimacy that way. You give me a gift, I'll probably forget what it was. Yeah. But if you touch and talk to me, that's something that fulfills me. And so because I require that, I also require... He can't just come at me and be like, all right, this is what I want, because I'm going to shut down. Yeah. So my husband, being the intelligent individual that he is, has learned that he has to figure out what it is, both of us, what is coming between us that desire isn't there? Because it's not there all the time. And
Right.
Oh, you
know,
got
and I'm sure
3
you
kids and a dog.
That's a
and
great
house
way to
and
look
everything.
at it. I love that perspective. That's like, okay, so let's look at what this is that may be coming between our intimacy.
Yes.
And I think that that's a great way to kind of to look at some of the issues.